Good morning everyone, I am back. We are doing a little pet pairing today because it is Wednesday, and on Wednesdays I just usually film my pet pairings. I am back starting to do my makeup, by the way, with my Ori Glow Lust as usual. I was away, for those of you who don't know, for like a long weekend with my family-in-law, not my own family. My own family lives in a different country, so I don't really get to see them for long weekends that often. But I went with the family-in-law. We were in Zeeland, which is like a province in the Netherlands, basically translating to the land of the sea. Obviously it's at the sea, it's at the North Sea, and we were at this place which is kind of like a resort slash amusement park, I guess. Not really an amusement park, more like a resort where you can go and like rent a house and stay there for a few days, and there's an indoor swimming pool and an outdoor swimming pool and stuff like that. I didn't really go to the swimming pool because it was just, for my standards, it was too cold to go to the swimming pool. But my family-in-law took Nicola to the swimming pool, and he had an absolute blast, as you can imagine. As a toddler, he was basically just in and out and in and out and in and out and on repeat. Taking my little Clarins Instant Concealer. The highlight of the trip for me was actually like going to the beach to sniff the sea, because I am a sea creature. I really love the sea. I almost think it's a crime that I wasn't born in like a coastal city, because where I come from, the land of Bulgaria, we have a whole border. Our whole eastern border is the Black Sea. So I grew up going to the beach every year in the summer. And I always wished that I had been born in Varna, which is one of the coastal cities along, you know, our eastern border, more towards the north part of the coastline. But I don't know, I've always really liked Varna. It's been voted like best city in Bulgaria a couple of times, and it's just really adorable, and I always kind of wished I was born there. Although people who were born there always tell me that if you actually live there, it's not as much fun. Taking my Estee Lauder Double Wear Nude Foundation now. So like I said, the highlight for me was just going to the beach. It was pretty decent weather. So usually around the coastal part of the Netherlands it's quite windy. So I figured even if it's warmer towards the inland where we live, it's probably going to be a lot cooler and a lot more unpleasant, because personally I really despise the wind. I just feel like as warm as it is outside, if there's wind, it's always going to ruin things for everyone. But the day that my mom-in-law and I went to the beach, it was absolutely beautiful. There wasn't even a whiff of a wind. It came a bit later throughout the day, but when we went to the beach earlier in the morning, it was absolutely beautiful. I laid in the sand a bit. I didn't actually dip my feet into the sea, because I would assume that right now the North Sea is probably not more than like, I don't know, anything between 5 and 10 degrees, because at its best, when it's really warm outside, and it's been warm for weeks, I don't think the temperature of the water goes much above, I don't know, a generous 18 degrees or something, which for the Dutchies is fine. They are like, yeah, it's really warm, 18 degrees. And I'm always here thinking like, I'm not getting inside the water if it's anything below 25 or 26 degrees. Okay, I can do maybe 23 or 24, but that's my lower limit. And of course I collected a few shells from the beach of the North Sea to use as decoration here on my vanity, and maybe when I do flat lace. So anyway, it was a fun weekend. We got home, and so it was the first time that the two ladies, Mona and Lisa, our two cats, were by themselves for a prolonged period of time. Like the longest they've ever been alone is like maybe like a whole working day or something. And being that it's the first time that they are away, I was a little bit worried. So we had the little camera that we usually have to spy on Nicola when he sleeps, well, when he's in his room by himself. We put that, my husband put that, I didn't. I'm taking my Charlotte Tilbury, and since I'm zooming you in, I just realized, did you notice my beautiful new ear climbers? Do you remember that Greek Etsy store that I mentioned in my one of my previous videos? I'm taking the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter Powder, wow, that's a mouthful for me to say, I'm sorry, to powder my face. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I purchased a pair of ear climbers from this Greek Etsy store, and I already mentioned in the video that I was so in love with the ones that I purchased that I went back for more, and this is one of the pairs that I purchased. They are so beautiful. They are exactly what they look on the website. You can get them also in the silver version if gold is not your thing. Anyway, as I was saying, first time that the ladies were alone and everything went well. Friends of ours came to feed them once a day, and I was able to see them quite a few times, you know, coming back and forth, eating or like just chilling. And then the day we returned was the really interesting one. I'm taking my Chanel Soleil Tendre Chanel bronzer in the meantime. So we returned, and the first thing I did was get myself a bit in order because my hair really needed a good dyeing session. So I went to dye my hair. My husband was taking some rest after driving back from Zeeland, and the doorbell rings, and at first I thought it's our friends with their daughter who usually likes to play with Nicola, and she was very impatient to see him that day. So at first I thought it was them, and then Nicola went to open the door, and then I hear this lady at the door asking him if his mommy is home and if she's home to please call her. And my heart sank into my ankles, okay, because I immediately thought someone has found... Oh yeah, maybe I should have prefaced this by saying that we got home and not long after Lisa came home, but Mona did not. And it's not unusual for her to be gone for several hours during the day, so I wasn't exactly worried, but as time was going by I was like, I don't like that she's not home. And then when the lady came, I literally almost lost consciousness because I was like, oh no, they're coming to give us bad news. And then my husband also heard it, so he like ran downstairs. Next I'm going to take this Suq shimmering liquid blush, and I hear the following conversation. Hey, do you by any chance have like a black and white like cat, like spots of black and white cat? And if so, she's locked up in the building again. So my lady went to the apartment building that's next to us that I've mentioned on a previous occasion, because she managed to get stuck on one of their upper like floor balconies a couple of months ago. And this time she got stuck inside their building. So my husband went to pick Her Majesty up, and she came home perky and, you know, happy as usual. But now I'm thinking I'm just going to plaster her face all over that building with our phone numbers on it so that they can just call us next time. And it's quite remarkable that apparently word has gotten out about her, you know, getting stuck there or visiting their building often enough. When the lady came, she actually mentioned Mona's name, because after the occasion I put in the mailbox of the lady whose balcony Mona was stuck on, like a little box of merci with a little card where I mentioned her name and her sister's name. And then when the lady was here and I was asking about the black and white spot cat, she said, oh, something about Mona Lisa. So apparently word has gotten out that Mona likes to hang out there. Anyway, I'm taking my little trio highlighting fetish thing from McGrath and just like going into all the three highlighters basically. And I did actually take some makeup with me, by the way, to Zeeland, in case you were curious. At first I wasn't planning on taking anything, but then my husband mentioned casually the possibility of us maybe going to see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which by the way didn't happen on one of the days. But I thought, you know what, then I'm just going to take a bit of a base with me and a nice lipstick. So I did not take any eyeshadow with me, but what I ended up taking was a concealer, my Estee Lauder Double Wear Nude Foundation, I took my Nabla bronzer, and I also took Desert Orchid and Golden Nectar from Pat McGrath Labs. And for lipsticks I took the two new Satin Allure ones. So I took Negligee and Elson 5, because I thought Negligee is a nice one for like casual daytime makeup, and Elson 5 would be glorious if indeed we did make it to the cinema. I spritzed my little sponge with Fix Plus, by the way, and at first I had, to be honest, no intentions of at all doing my makeup, but I had taken my little Fourier device and a little sheet mask, so I did my face mask every day. And I decided on the first day that we were there to just put a little bit of a base to look a bit more fresh, and also because I've noticed that if I'm away, obviously my skin suffers a bit because I'm away out of my, you know, normal routine. I tend to like pick on my face and like touch my face a lot more if I'm not wearing makeup. So I actually did my base makeup with those products every day, and I looked really fresh. My skin remained at a very good condition the whole time I was there, even though I was strongly PMSing. And I have to say that maybe that's something I'm going to do now more often. I never used to be someone who like does a lot of makeup for like literally staying around the house. But I think I'm going to turn into one of those people now, because I enjoyed how fresh I looked and how my skin did not misbehave one bit. Anyway, moving on into the eyeshadows. Last week one of you asked if I can do a pairing of Mothership 1 and Mothership 6. So today we're doing a little bit of an iteration of what I did last week, and especially the look that I showed you that I had done on Instagram with the Subliminal Palette, with the thick blocky liner and the lid. But today, instead of doing the thick blocky liner with a Blitz Blue, which by the way is gorgeous and I would totally do it, but I don't want to repeat the look because I have another look in mind, we're going to do the thick blocky liner with this purple shade here from Midnight Sun, which is Blitz Violet Orchid. God, I can never remember the name of that shade. I am going to go into the Subliminal Palette and I'm going to take this beautiful transition-y neutral shade over here. Mine already has a really huge dent in it. You can't really see that on camera, but it's quite a significant dent. I really love this shade. It's my favorite, like more neutral, cool-toned leaning crease shade. So I'm just going to apply that through the crease to create a little bit of like shading over here, nothing too crazy, just getting things started. In my previous video I accidentally mentioned my little kidney organoids that I was making, and some of you said that you would be interested in hearing about that. So maybe in my next video I'm going to tell you a little bit about those, and you guys are going to be good sports, because if I can explain this to you and you understand what I'm doing, then I have done a good job, because apparently we biologists are not great at communicating our craft. Because I watched this little talk on one of my favorite channels, like the Royal Institution channel. They have these like RI talks, which are about an hour long, and they invite experts in different fields, especially like people who are communicators of science and are like really good at communicating their craft to the layman people. Okay, before we ramble more about that RI talk, I'm going to take a little pencil brush and go into the Blitz Violet Orchid shade. And the most difficult thing that I always find with this look is getting my thick blocky liner to have, especially on my upper lash line, to have like the correct angle. So that's really the most tricky part about this makeup look. The rest is really super simple, but like getting the angle of that to look flattering, especially with my eye shape, is always the thing I struggle with the most, and I don't really have something like a reproducible protocol here. So I'm always kind of trying to not fuck it up. Hopefully at some point I'll get the hang of it. Anyway, so I watched this RI talk, which was called something like A Dream or a Nightmare, Genetic Engineering, something of the sorts. I highly recommend watching it. It's, I think, the latest RI talk that has been posted on their channel, and it's a bit of a summation of everything that's happened in the field of genetic engineering since the beginning of genetic engineering in the 70s. And I'm not going to talk about the actual like content of the talk. You should just go and watch it. But the dude who was presenting, who is like this really charismatic dude, Matthew Cobb, I want to say, but I'm not sure, and I don't want to state that for a fact because I might be super wrong. I think his last name is Cobb, but his first name, not sure. He said something very interesting. He said that there's been a decline in the interest of the public, especially in like the technology of genetic manipulation over the last 50 years. Like even if you look at like pop culture, in the first like boom of genetic engineering, there were a lot of cultural references, movies being made about the possibilities of genetic engineering. One of the best ones, in my personal opinion, being Gattaca. What an amazing movie. But Gattaca was already almost 30 years ago or something. Am I lying? 20... When was Gattaca made? Late 90s. Not 30 years, but about 20 something years. So that's been a pretty long time, and there hasn't been like that much buzz going around. Like even the technology of CRISPR, which some of you may have heard about, it has not quite been referenced in a like pop culture setting and not in a proper way. I've heard the mention of CRISPR once in a TV show, and it was so ridiculously inaccurate that I had to really laugh. So there hasn't really been a proper even like movie being made about genetic engineering in the past years. And he said if you look at the terms that people are Googling pertaining to this technology, there's been a steady decline in the past like 15 to 20 years. And that's really concerning, and you can see it reflected in how much people don't know about this and how it creates a lot of unnecessary like fear and fear-mongering, and you know, people like the anti-vaxxers who want to bring back smallpox. Oh, by the way, I finally figured out the best solution, the best like way to deal with people who are anti-vaxxers. We can send them to a deserted island, like an isolated deserted island. They can't get out. And then we release smallpox on them, but we also give them the vaccine. Don't you think that's a win-win? Like, either they take the vaccine and then they come back with their tails between their legs, or they all die of smallpox. Either way, we win. Moving on to the rest of the look, I'm taking my glitter glue from NYX, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of that onto my moving lid. And onto my lids I want to do something that in my head theoretically is really fun and is going to work out really beautifully, but in practice can't quite vouch for it. So I'm going to take this gorgeous gold shade from the Subliminal Palette, and I'm going to apply that all over my lids. I really love this shade. It is such a unique and stunning, like sort of like cool toned gold with the most beautiful sparkle on it. And I'm going to apply a generous amount of that here above the purple. Next I'm going to take the Midnight Sun palette again, and the tiniest few flecks of this shade, and I want to kind of mash the gold and the orange together, because I think it will match really nice the little daisy details that I have on my denim shirt. So I'm just going to press a few flecks of this orange shade here with the gold, kind of like trying to basically mesh the two together. Not really so much layering as much as basically mixing the two shades on my lids. And like I said, there's no guarantee that it's actually going to work, but I am going to give it a try. Next I'm going to take a little bit of Pat's Intensifies, and I'm going to put that here on my lower lashes. And I'm going to go back into the purple from the Midnight Sun palette and gently going to start building that up also on the lower lash line. Again, starting off towards the close to the lash and then going to blow it out a bit by blending it, but first I'm going to pack it. Finally going back into the Subliminal palette and taking this Skin Show shade here to apply as an inner corner highlight. Did any of you buy that rose essence from Pat McGrath, by the way? I did not. I am pretty set with my skincare and I don't necessarily enjoy rose scented products so much, so I passed on this quite easily. I kept it Negligee on the lips, so obviously I have the shade Negligee from the new Satin Allure lipsticks from Pat McGrath Labs, because I think it's a nice nude with a hint of those like peachy undertones to it, and I could not help myself but apply a little bit of Gold Allure Lust Gloss over top of that, because I don't know whether you can see, the Lust Allure gloss also has a little bit of those like golden types of sparkles like the shade from the Subliminal palette, and that pretty much completes our look. I really enjoy this, because it's very reminiscent of the look I did with the Subliminal palette, but just a little bit different with the purple and the slight coppery peach tone that we created when we mixed the two shades from Subliminal and Midnight Sun. Let me know what you thought about this look. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh boy, okay, it's really late. I really need to get to work now. I hope you enjoyed this video and all of my, you know, random ramblings as usual. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!